Hey there guys, this is Richard, your host with another Marvelous video. Marvelous Videos categorically believes that heroes are only as great as the villains they fight, and the Thundercats are known to fight a plethora of distinct villains. From evil mummified priests and animal-based villains, to nefarious robotic villains and bounty hunters and creepy moneylenders, Thundercats have fought nearly every kind of bad guy you can possibly think of. In this video, we'll explore all 82 villains of the Thundercats franchise, but before that, let's quickly brush up on what that franchise is all about. Thundercats revolves around a group of heroic cat-like alien beings on the planet Third Earth. Their journey begins as their home planet, Thundera, faces its imminent destruction, forcing the Thundercats to escape. Attacked by their adversaries, the mutants of Plun-Darr, the Thundercats' fleet is ravaged, save for their flagship containing the legendary Sword of Omens, which houses the powerful Eye of Thundera. The Eye's energy repels the mutants, but the damage forces them to reroute to Third Earth. During the journey, Jagger, the eldest, pilots the ship but passes away, ensuring the others' safety. Upon arriving on Third Earth after a decade in suspended animation, Lion-O, the young leader, finds that his aging has slowed, rendering him physically young in an adult's body. Collaborating with the planet's inhabitants, the Thundercats build the Cat's Lair as their base. However, the mutants locate them, and their presence attracts the attention of Mumm-Ra, a malevolent sorcerer who recruits the mutants to help him seize the Eye of Thundera and eliminate the Thundercats, furthering his dark rule over Third Earth. And now let's begin exploring the bad guys, shall we? Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin.
This decayed form to Mumm-Ra!
Mumm-Ra, ancient spirits of evil, transform this decayed form to Mumm-Ra, the ever-living. Mumm-Ra, the central antagonist in the Thundercats series, is a mummified demon priest known for his apparent immortality and mastery of dark magic. He's been around for thousands of years on Third Earth. With a zombie-like appearance and ashen skin, Mumm-Ra has fiery red eyes and jagged teeth. His emaciated frame is enshrouded in mummification bandages, always concealed beneath a crimson cape. But this guy has got a friend as well in the form of a demonic bulldog named Marmut. The duo resides within the Black Pyramid, a dwelling encircled by remnants reminiscent of ancient Egyptian civilization. Mumm-Ra's Egyptian ties manifest in various aspects, including his name. His resting place, a stone sarcophagus, serves as an energy replenishing chamber. Adjacent to it stands a colossal cauldron brimming with mystical rosy fluid. Mumm-Ra's true power rests in the four towering statues flanking his tomb. Within these sculptures reside the ancient spirits of evil, which are dominant entities that wield boundless power. Mumm-Ra regards them as his supreme overlords, meticulously executing their wishes to avoid their wrath. He also has an evolved form in which he attains a towering muscular stature of nearly 9 feet and seems nearly impervious. Tattered bandages barely drape his robust torso in this form, and he gets a helmet bearing his dual snake emblem. Rataro. Rataro is probably the most prominent member of the Mutants faction, and played a significant role in the Thundercats series. Initially commanding the mutants on their home planet Plun-Darr, he oversaw their operations. However, when the mutants relocated to Third Earth, Slithe assumed leadership, giving up their role as workers in the mutant field kitchens. Upon Rataro's arrival on Third Earth, a brief interlude saw him regain leadership, despite mutual disdain from the other mutants, particularly Slithe. Probably the only exception was Vulture Man, who had unwavering loyalty to Rataro, and he even served as Rataro's co-pilot. Following several defeats by the Thundercats, Rataro ventured solo, severing ties with the mutants. At a later juncture, he resurfaced as a tyrant, targeting Thundercats searching for Thunderian refugees. However, the abduction of Snarf led to his captivity aboard the Ratstar. Rataro traces his lineage to Ratilla the Terrible, a forebearer renowned for wielding the formidable sword of Plun-Darr. Notably, Ratilla's quest to seize the treasure of Thundera was thwarted by a youthful Jagger. Groon the Destroyer. Groon, known as Groon the Destroyer, was an anthropomorphic saber-toothed tiger. Once a Thundercat and close confidant of Jagger, he succumbed to greed and lust for power. This shift led him to assemble a band of marauders, ultimately clashing with his former allies in a battle for supremacy. The pivotal encounter saw Groon and Jagger locked in hand-to-hand combat, with Jagger prevailing. Banished from Thundera within a crystalline enclosure, Groon's thirst for vengeance took him to Third Earth. Upon Third Earth, Groon sowed chaos and desolation, but his story was rather forgotten until centuries later when 2 Balkins recounted his tale. The symbol sealing his tomb prevented his spirit's release until the misguided actions of Hurik and Bundan set him free. Despite the passage of 2 centuries, his sworn oath for retribution against both the Thundercats and Jagger remained resolute. Journeying to Fire Rock Mountain, Groon harnessed Thundranium, a substance resembling fire rocks, and using Thundranium, he created his spiked mace. His assault on Cat's Lair prompted the Thundercats' investigation, aided by Chitara's sixth sense. Acknowledging their inability to combat a spectral foe, the Thundercats sought aid from another apparition, Jagger. The unfolding confrontation, driven by Groon's desire for a rematch, tested the mettle of these two ethereal combatants. Thundranium-infused weaponry tipped the scales in Groon's favor, eroding Jagger's strength. However, Jagger ultimately emerged victorious. Ancient Spirits of Evil. The Ancient Spirits of Evil, a quartet of demonic specters, hold dominion over Mumm-Ra's fate, future, and powers. As I mentioned earlier, they live inside giant stone statues in the Black Pyramid. Once animated, their crimson gaze and a resounding thunderous voice can unleash animated assaults upon intruders. These spectral entities serve as the ultimate wellspring of Mumm-Ra's might, capable of transforming him from his enfeebled, mummified state into the formidable, ever-living form. The invocation of their power remains instrumental in his transitions, whether to his potent state or alternate disguises like Pum-Ra or the Nether Witch. Each statue of the Ancient Spirits of Evil embodies a distinct creature, namely 1. Crocodile, 2. Minotaur or Ox or Bull, 3. Wild Boar, 4. Vulture, referred to as the Vulture King. Beyond their transformative role, the Ancient Spirits contribute to Mumm-Ra's schemes by imparting knowledge about arcane artifacts and entities, offering prospects for the Thundercats' defeat. In exceptional cases, the Ancient Spirits elevate Mumm-Ra to an all-powerful form, augmenting not only his stature, but also his strength. Their judgment manifests in rewards or chastisements, with a willingness to grant second chances following failures or challenges. But that's basically a side effect of Mumm-Ra's plot armor. Vulture Man. Vulture Man was a Plun-Darr mutant who had the appearance of an anthropomorphic vulture. Lacking feathers, his shoulders are enveloped in brown fur, which gives him his avian namesake. Renowned as the intellectual force among his less astute associates, Vulture Man functions as both scientist and inventor. His laboratory within Castle Plun-Darr's depths serve as the birthplace of diverse gadgets, weaponry, and some really mysterious concoctions. Notable creations include the Thundranium Cannon, the Shifter, and the Voice Imitator, strategically supplied to fellow mutants for confrontations against the Thundercats. Though his origins on Third Earth remain abrupt and unexplained, Vulture Man's later role within the mutants' ranks is more clearly defined. Initially absent during their arrival, he subsequently joined their ranks in his flying machine. Vulture Man's intelligence frequently pitted him against brutish comrades, which led to discord with Slythe and others. Disagreements often arose over his intricate gadgets, which Slythe occasionally held accountable for setbacks. Such tensions even led Vulture Man to ally with Rataro and assist in co-piloting the Ratstar. Slythe. Slythe hails from the reptilian species on the planet Plun-Darr. He has green skin with dark green spots and distinctive spines on his back. Distinguished by enlarged ears, his speech is marked by drawn-out S sounds, which may sound like lisping. As the head of the mutants, Slythe's authority is absolute. Operating with an iron grip, he enforces his rule ruthlessly. Leading with malice, he often shows a willingness to sacrifice his own teammates to achieve his ends, using any means necessary. Slythe maintains a tenuous relationship with ethics and morality, but then what else can one expect from a villain? Slythe's origins trace back to his role as a field cook during Rataro's leadership, and his animosity toward Rataro is palpable. Though Rataro's supremacy is acknowledged, Slythe's pride prevents him from seeking assistance or acknowledging his rival's capabilities. Ascending to the mutant's helm prior to Thundera's demise, Slythe pursued the Eye of Thundera from the Thundercats without success. Collaborating with Vulture Man, an attempt to pilfer Plundarian warbot plans from Claudius proved futile for Slythe. An encounter with Mumm-Ra catalyzed a shift in Slythe's allegiance, and he was compelled to serve Mumm-Ra after his spaceship was disabled by the ancient sorcerer. Despite an aversion to Mumm-Ra, fear of his extraordinary powers outweighed disdain, prompting a reluctant alliance. Munkian. Munkian, revered as the leader of his kind on Plun-Darr, is another anthropomorphic figure in the form of an ape, and his hunched stance makes him look more ape-like. His body is draped in white fur across his neck and shoulders and forms an integral part of the mutants. Munkian is acclaimed for his physical prowess, symbolizing the muscle among the mutants. His brawny frame and diverse arsenal make him a formidable combatant, often venturing into confrontations with the Thundercats when supported by his mutant companions. Possessing remarkable simian agility and strength, Munkian excels in arboreal fight situations and environments. Of course, moving through treetops comes easy to him, and is an adept climber capable of rapid tree-to-tree movement, which has proven invaluable for reconnaissance. Slythe often uses him for covert operations, with Munkian infiltrating Thundercats' territories to gather intelligence. Despite not being the most aspirational mutant, Munkian seizes power when attainable. Ratilla. Ratilla the Terrible was a military commander prior to the obliteration of old Thundera. This rather powerful villain posed a grave threat during the era when Jagger was a fledgling warrior and Lion-O remained an infant. During this time, Ratilla even sought supremacy over the Thundercats. In times long past, Ratilla, armed with the Sword of Plun-Darr, instigated an assault on Thundera. Breaching the Thundercats' royal palace, His aim was to seize the treasure of Thundera, a means to claim dominion over the planet. Jagger intervened, culminating in an intense battle. Jagger's timely intervention led to the disarming of Rotilla and his subsequent immobilization through the Sword of Omens. Rotilla was then exiled by Jagger, while the Sword of Plundar was cast into Thundera's abyss, inadvertently contributing to the planet's destruction. Rotaro, a direct descendant of Rotilla, carried forward his ancestors' legacy. Sharing a striking resemblance in appearance, Rotaro mirrors Rotilla's insidious and power-hungry disposition, and they both embody the same relentless pursuit of dominance. Jackalman. Jackalman serves as the leader of his race of Jackalmen, and is an important member of the mutants led by Slythe. With the appearance of a humanoid jackal, his dark orange complexion is accentuated by fur tufts enveloping his shoulders. Within the mutant ranks, Jackalman seems to have a cautious and timid demeanor, often striving to evade direct confrontations. Now, this is actually in line with the treatment of jackals in literature and art. His inclination to question Slythe's schemes underscores his wariness and propensity for skepticism. However, there were instances wherein he'd given up his innate timidity to show some unexpected boldness. Rebelling against the mutants, he forged his own gang, appointing himself as a general and enlisting allies like the Mole Master and the Driller. Jackalman's ability to manipulate situations to his advantage and extricate himself from challenges serve him well, but of course, that doesn't mean he remains bereft of troubles. While not a physical powerhouse, his strategic mindset helps him hold his ground in one-on-one combat. Marmot. Marmot, unwaveringly devoted to Mumm-Ra the Ever-Living, serves as his faithful pet. Resembling a bulldog, Marmot is Mumm-Ra's sole source of unflinching trust. Despite lacking the ability to speak, this creature possesses human-like intelligence. Functioning as an instrument of Mumm-Ra's schemes, Marmot's capabilities extend beyond his appearance. He's proficient in controlling the Mumm-Raft, a teleportation device. With the power to soar and enlarge himself to giant proportions, Marmot is a versatile asset to Mumm-Ra. His metamorphosis into the bat-like Marbat increases his strength and gives him the ability to fly. Although usually aligned with his master's malevolent plans, Marmot occasionally deviates, wherein he displays dog-like behavior. You know, he seeks attention and tends to be mischievous. There are instances where he even aligned temporarily with the Thundercats, so maybe he's not the best pet to have. Luna. Luna is the malicious commander of the Lunatacs from the moons of Plundar, and she's nothing but pure evil filled with malevolence. Despite her diminutive size, her screeching voice and quick temper make her rather intimidating. Functioning as the mastermind behind the Lunatacs' intricate plots, Luna's strategic acumen is a potent weapon, which is kinda the only weapon she uses. A self-serving and ruthless leader, Luna's influence extends beyond her physical presence. Though lacking in leadership finesse, her intellect and the aid of her bodyguard Amok enable her to command obedience from her fellow Lunatacs, and this forges a reluctant unity within the group. Luna's grandmother, Queen Luna, was much like her in character and personality. The old woman would terrorize Third Earth through a weapon called the Magic Belt of the Ancients. However, her reign was thwarted by Mumm-Rana, who vanquished Queen Luna, deprived her of the belt, and exiled her to the moons of Plundar. Mudhogs. The Mudhogs, a primitive humanoid race of boars, inhabit the depths of Third Earth. Covered in brown fur, their head has short tusks flanking their mouths, which is, of course, how most boars look. Dressed uniformly in blue shirts, they lack the capacity for advanced communication and mostly rely on grunts and snorts. Furthermore, their weaponry is basic, as they mostly use wooden and stone spears. Governance of the Mudhog state rests with the Mudhog King, who also commands through grunting and snorting from a stone throne. Driven by mostly evil and plunderous intent, these subterranean beings specialize in plundering valuables, which are then presented to their king. Instead of any elevated strategy, the Mudhog use ambush tactics. Once possessions are seized, victims are bound to ladders, their exposed heads vulnerable to circling vultures above. Averse to bright light due to underground habitation, Mudhogs are prone to blindness in the presence of even little light. Mudhog King. The ruler of the subterranean Mudhog people is the mighty Mudhog King. Resembling his subjects, he has anthropomorphic warthog features, like two white tusks adorning his mouth on either side. Towering over his loyal subjects, he wears a crown and a reddish-brown shirt. Being a king, he almost always sits on a stone throne and governs through snorts and grunts, the sole communication mode of all Mudhogs. The Mudhog King's only insatiable desire is for precious and invaluable things. Probably the most notable incident regarding the Mudhog King was when his people apprehended Lion-O, Mandora, Snarf, and Quickpick. The Mudhog King seized the Sword of Omens and Snarf's secret coin purse. With pride, he displayed these acquisitions on his waist belt, but of course, that wasn't going to last long. Fortune smiled as Quickpick managed to steal the sword and he gave it to Lion-O, who summoned fellow Thundercats. The arrival of Panthro, Tigra, Chitara, and the Thunder Kittens in the Thunder Tank culminated in a single luminous burst, which prompted the Mudhog King and his ilk to retreat. Ninja. The ninja is an ancient Japanese mercenary well versed in the martial arts of ninjutsu. Draped entirely in black attire, only his luminous white eyes can be seen, so his outlook itself seems like the perfect embodiment of stealth and concealment. Functioning as an assassin, he lacks the samurai's ethical principles and operates exclusively for the highest bidder. His arsenal comprises lethal implements like shurikens and a katana. Following Mumra's unsuccessful attempt to employ Hachiman against Lion-O, he invoked the ninja from his mystical cauldron. Disguised as a tabut, the ninja infiltrated the treetop kingdom of the warrior maidens, wherein Slithe was confined. Having the mutant liberated, the ninja went on to confront Hachiman. Despite an action-packed duel, Hachiman's superior swordsmanship prevailed in the end, but the ninja narrowly evaded capture. Pyron. Pyron is an apex champion who serves the ancient spirits of evil. He wears an extremely heavy metal armor with spikes and wields a powerful staff for his weapon of choice. As a fighter, he's extremely fierce, but his strength isn't limited to his fighting skills. He can also produce and shoot fire, which is what gives him his name. At one point, Lion-O defeated Mumra in an epic hand-to-hand combat. With no options left, Mumra pleaded with the ancient spirits to help, and they summoned Pyron to fight on Mumra's behalf. Pyron appeared from a cauldron that was housed inside the new Black Pyramid. Pyron gave Lion-O some serious challenge because of his fire powers, but Lion-O managed to defeat him by summoning the dragons on the pillars, who reduced Pyron to nothing using their own fire. Queen Tatara. Queen Tatara is the ruler of the Crystal Kingdom on Third Earth. Tatara is protected by a company of extremely loyal and fierce guards who would go to any extent to protect her. But her character is one of a greedy woman who wants nothing in life other than treasure and the things that appeal to her. I mean, she's so greedy and selfish that she won't let anyone to even look at her treasure, and she even forces her loyal guards to wear blindfolds. Can you believe that? Once she gets bored with what she owns, she hunts for more treasure on her flying jet sleigh. Her magical power is her control over ice, and she can shoot beams of crystalline ice that immediately solidify upon contact with an unsuspecting person to trap them in an ice block. But her reign didn't last long as Lion-O, Snarf and Panthro infiltrated a palace to destroy it. Tatara's guards. Because Tatara's kingdom is rather icy, her guards wear hats and heavy woolen clothes for protection against the cold. They live in her mountaintop palace and obey her commands without any second thought, but then they don't have much of a choice either. Furthermore, they help her in securing treasures and valuables, including the incredibly rare Arietta bird, whose voice enchanted Queen Tatara. Of course, they also guard her palace and her treasure room, but when they're placed close to the treasure room, they're asked to wear electronic blindfolds and special armor. Tatara doesn't want her guards to see her treasure, so the blindfolds come in handy as they alert the guards about any and all intruders in the vicinity. Few of the guards serve as pilots for her unique flying vehicle. Rockmen. The Rockmen are among the strangest and most dangerous of creatures found on Third Earth, simply because of their immense strength and hostile nature. Although they look humanoid, as the name suggests, they're made entirely of rocks and are extremely territorial. They use these rocks to pelt anyone unfortunate enough to trespass through their lands. So if you find yourself in their territory, rest assured to be pelted with giant rocks. As far as the Thundercats are concerned, they faced the Rockmen twice. Once, the Thundercats had to take a detour because they were trying to rush to Cat's Lair, and their path crossed through the Rockmen territory. On another occasion, Chitara dealt with them when she was fighting Driller. Rock Giant. As the name suggests, the Rock Giant is a humongous monster who's made exclusively out of stones. However, it's not really related to the Rockmen of Third Earth. The Rock Giant was brought to life when a volcanic eruption wreaked havoc on a major part of Third Earth. Now Mumra, one to always see opportunity in a calamity, wanted to use the Rock Giant to destroy his archenemies, the Thundercats. Now this magnificently durable being seemed impervious to any and all attacks by the Thundercats, appearing to be a giant sink for incoming damage. Furthermore, it had the power to breathe fire, which made it more difficult to destroy, but in the end, Lion-O managed to get the job done using arcane knowledge used by ancients to defeat behemoths made of stone. See-Through. See-Through is basically a robot and a convicted criminal who's imprisoned on a planet called the Grey Penal Planet. So, as you can see, his body is actually made of a mechanical skeleton that's covered entirely by transparent skin. This allows you to basically see through him, and hence the name. Anyway, the reason why he was imprisoned was never revealed, but when this Captain Cracker took control of the Grey Penal Planet's prison, he freed each of the inmates, including the transparent robot. Following this, See-Through became Captain Cracker's henchman and helped him in various instances, including the capture and subsequent torture of Mandora. But their party didn't last long as Quickpick and Lion-O managed to rescue Mandora and bring the prison to its former glory, with all the inmates locked up once again, including the robot. Red Eye. Red Eye is a lunatic with raw strength, aggression, and firepower. Renowned for his physical might and unwavering combat enthusiasm, he frequently spearheads the Lunatic's confrontations, establishing himself as a formidable adversary of the Thundercats. Endowed with extraordinary visual capabilities, Red Eye's infrared vision enables him to perceive objects and individuals even in concealment, such as Thundercat Tigra when he turns invisible. Devoted to Luna's cause, he wields a spinning discus named the Sidewinder, capable of projecting electrical beams from his chest plate. Additionally, he undertakes engineering and piloting responsibilities for the Sky Tomb. Chilla. Another lunatic, Chilla possesses mastery over temperature manipulation through her breath and optical heat beams. Her expelled breath freezes the surrounding air rapidly, immobilizing targets, while her heat beams generate flames. A propensity for spiteful actions underscores her disregard for life, occasionally leading her to exploit her powers for malevolent ends. Notably, her weakness lies in rock salt, which can dissolve ice. Distinctly more humanoid when compared to the Lunatics, Chilla stands apart as a loner within the group. She exerts control over the mutants, enlisting their aid to vanquish the Thundercats while seeking personal glory. Amok. Amok was also a pretty huge and strong lunatic and served as the group's powerhouse. His physique and build mirror that of an ape. In fact, he often moves around on his fists and occasionally on his hind legs while bearing weight. Primarily serving as Luna's loyal steed, Amok's loyalty is unwavering despite the mistreatment he endures. This unwavering devotion extends to safeguarding Luna from any threat, even within the Lunatic ranks. His support contributes significantly to Luna's leadership over the Lunatics, and without him as the enforcer, she'd have a tough time ruling. As you may have understood, Amok's intellectual capacity is limited, veering toward a feral and primal nature. His emotional disposition tends toward impulsivity, occasionally leading him to inopportune actions that are detrimental to himself and the Lunatic's interests. Aluro. Aluro, as the name suggests, is rather full of allure because of his sinister yet soothing voice, but he's a formidable villain nonetheless, at least as far as other Lunatics are concerned. Renowned for his mastery of mind control, Aluro often becomes a serious challenge to the Thundercats. He once endured captivity in molten lava alongside fellow Lunatics until their release, which was orchestrated by Mumm-Ra. Aluro resides aboard the mobile Sky Tomb alongside his Lunatic counterparts on Darkseid. His primary arsenal is the Psych Club, an instrument that mesmerizes his enemies. Its luminescent crystal ball emits a hypnotic light, rendering victims susceptible to Aluro's wishes and commands. Notably, Aluro's powers further expanded when he acquired the Igora Talisman, which boosted his self-assurance and hypnotic capabilities. Although the talisman's existence was short-lived, it left a significant impact. Within Sky Tomb, Aluro also makes use of the Skull Scope, a device that enables him to extract information from victims' minds and display it on a screen. Tugmug. Tugmug is a strange lunatic with a short stature and a rounded physique. Clad in a metal vest and equipped with metal stumps that end in spherical appendages, Tugmug moves around by rolling on these spheres. Like his lunatic counterparts, he also has a malevolent and ruthless demeanor. Originating from the first moon of Plundar, Tugmug benefits from the moon's heightened gravity, affording him the ability to execute incredible leaps on Third Earth. This agility renders him rather elusive and difficult to apprehend once he sets in motion. Tugmug's armament includes the Gravity Carbine, a cannon-like weapon that projects beams capable of altering an opponent's weight. By using this tool, Tugmug can render adversaries weightless or exceptionally heavy, thus manipulating their movement. Notably robust, he once effortlessly snapped the Sword of Omens in two with his sheer physical strength. Hammerhand. Hammerhand, a Viking-like marauder, is the leader of a ruthless crew known as the Berserkers. His initial encounter with the Thundercats happened after the kidnapping of Snarf, who thwarted their attempt to capture a unicorn. Rather than consuming Snarf, Hammerhand used him as a beast of burden. During their pursuit of unicorns within the Unicorn Forest, Hammerhand's men also clashed with Lion-O. Amidst battles and hostage situations, Hammerhand's crew retreated after sustaining several casualties. Ultimately, the Thundercats successfully rescued Snarf and a baby unicorn, with the Berserkers, including Hammerhand, meeting their end in a whirlpool. In an unexpected twist, Hammerhand's spirit was resurrected by Mumm-Ra, imbuing him into a cloned body of Panthro. Recklessly driven by anger and fueled by newfound power, Hammerhand became defiant towards Mumm-Ra and destroyed the cloning mechanism, which culminated in his return to the depths from which he emerged. Reappearing alongside the Berserkers, Hammerhand is again employed by Mumm-Ra to capture Thunderian refugees, but his greed once again led to his downfall. Queen Luna. Queen Luna is an ancient lunatic who once ruled with terror over Third Earth in an era predating the arrival of the Thundercats and the mutants. Empowered by the magical belt of the ancients, Queen Luna wielded immense powers that enabled her to subjugate the tranquil inhabitants of Third Earth, including the Wallows and Burbils. These captives were forced into labor in the Thundrillium mines. Even the formidable warrior maidens proved powerless in her presence. Ultimately, Mumm-Ra, a benevolent sorceress of Third Earth, emerged as the key to quelling Queen Luna's tyranny. Mumrana successfully seized the magical belt of the ancients, leading to Queen Luna's permanent exile to the third moon of Plundar. Queen Luna could transform herself using the magical belt, shifting her stature and physique from her original form to a taller, muscular appearance. However, upon its removal, her true form was reinstated. Decades later, Luna, a direct descendant of Queen Luna, discovers the belt's significance and seeks to get it, which results in damage to the White Pyramid. By donning the belt, Luna experiences a transformation much like that of her grandmother, and she becomes Princess Luna. Cruncher. Cruncher, a formidable member of the Berserkers, is the largest within this Viking-like pirate crew. Cloaked in blue and grey attire with a distinctive red beard, he's usually at disagreements with his fellow Berserkers. Having said that, Cruncher's respect for their captain Hammerhand remains unwavering. In addition to his imposing physique and robust musculature, Cruncher's primary weapons are his powerful arms. His immense strength allows him to give a crushing bear hug to immobilize foes, a grip from which few can escape. Additionally, his robust fists possess the ability to break through rock and other obstacles, reflecting his raw might. Yet, Cruncher's physical prowess comes with limited intellectual depth. Operating as a mere henchman, he deals with situations with brute force rather than strategic finesse. Furthermore, his sheer bulk occasionally hampers his agility, rendering him less nimble. Unlike traditional weaponry, Cruncher relies solely on his robust limbs to engage adversaries. Rambam. Rambam is a hybrid between a human and a cyborg pirate. He has a striking yellow beard and his attire has vivid shades of red and pink. Unfailingly devoted to the Berserker leader Hammerhand, whom he also fears, Rambam is the epitome of both cruelty and avarice. Probably his most notable cybernetic enhancement is the wheel integrated into his chest, which allows him to move at fairly high speeds. Launching into rapid motion after building momentum, Rambam uses his chest wheel to effortlessly breach obstacles and overpower adversaries, a technique similar to ramming, which is what gives him his name. Rambam's proficiency with his chest wheel proves advantageous, though it carries inherent risks. For instance, he often loses control, which results in unintended collisions, and he sometimes fails to target accurately. He doesn't use much weaponry, but his helmet is capable of emitting laser beams. Top Spinner. Top Spinner is a rather frail member of the ruthless Berserker pirates, and is always dressed in vibrant shades of purple and lilac. Like his crewmates, he remains fiercely loyal to Captain Hammerhand and eagerly participates in their nefarious plots. Top Spinner's standout ability is his rapid spinning, a result of cybernetic enhancements. This unique skill serves as both an aggressive maneuver and a defensive tactic, allowing him to shatter projectiles and deflect attacks. He even doubles as a makeshift propeller, aiding in his crew's escapades. Among the Berserkers, intelligence is scarce and greed prevails, a trait that Top Spinner shares. His limited arsenal and spinning-centric combat style necessitate close-quarters combat, rendering him vulnerable to counterattacks. However, after intense spinning, he experiences bouts of dizziness, exposing him to adversaries and giving them an advantage. Driller. Sporting legs resembling colossal drills and crowned with a smaller drill at his head, Driller functions as a living excavation apparatus. He effortlessly bores through any known material, which I guess would make a great contractor. This underground denizen operates as a mercenary, demanding diamonds in exchange for his services, and that's because diamonds are crucial for maintaining his drill sharpness. Despite his mechanical form, Driller can be summoned by Mum-Ra using a ritualistic chant that refers to him as the Sand Devil of the Earth. Whether he's unique or part of a group of beings like him is unclear, although his mention of fellow drillers suggests the latter. Mum-Ra enlisted Driller to infiltrate Cat's Lair and abduct Panthro, later using the clone to unleash chaos. Driller's subsequent tasks included drilling from Acid Lake to Cat's Lair, aiming to dissolve the fortress with potent ultrasolvic acid. This was thwarted by the Thundercats' intervention. Another encounter saw Driller unleashed as part of Mum-Ra's mechanical onslaught against the Thundercats. He faced off against Chitara in this confrontation. Additionally, Driller allied with Jackalman in a rebellion against fellow mutants. Reptilian Guards. Reptilian Guards are mutants stationed within Castle Plundar, serving as sentinels to safeguard the mutant stronghold from potential intruders. Bearing a resemblance to their reptilian leader Slithe, they don caveman-like attire. These guards exhibit limited intelligence and vigilance, lacking adeptness in both combat and alertness. Equipped with primitive weaponry such as clubs and maces, they defend their domain with these rudimentary tools. Baron Karnor. Baron Karnor, a relentless robber baron on Third Earth, devoted his life to terrorizing the native inhabitants and plundering their treasures. Consumed by insatiable greed, his sole aim was to accumulate vast wealth, particularly gold and jewelry. The gentle Wallows often found themselves victimized by his avarice. Leveraging his mystical abilities, Baron Karnor animated stone gargoyles to carry out his thievery. His ill-gotten gains were hoarded within the confines of his Black Tower, cunningly rigged with intricate traps to deter potential intruders from reaching his amassed riches. Ultimately, he perished safeguarding his treasure trove, leaving only his lifeless body behind in the treasure room. The Thunder Kittens intervene by saving a Wallow Traveler from the clutches of two of Karnor's gargoyle minions. Investigating the ominous Black Tower, Wily Cat found himself trapped within its walls. But with Lion-O's assistance, Wily Cat and Lion-O successfully dodged the traps and Wily Cat was rescued. Boatman. The Boatman lives within the depths of the Black Pyramid. He's basically a shrouded and hooded figure who conceals his visage. This mysterious being wields a magical oar while occupying a small wooden boat stationed on the River of Doom. Lion-O's encounter with the Boatman occurred during the final anointment trial in Mum-Ra's pyramid. In his pursuit to reach Mum-Ra, Lion-O extended an offer to compensate for Boatman for ferrying him across. However, the Boatman incapacitated Lion-O through a touch that sapped the Thundercat's vitality. Summoning his remaining strength, Lion-O managed to tip the boat, plunging both himself and the Boatman into the water. The Boatman subsequently vanished beneath the water's surface, and Lion-O seized control of the vessel and took charge of his own journey. Char-Nin. Char-Nin is a genie who resides within the confines of the Great Golden Harp on Third Earth. He dons a red vest and a white turban and looks more Indian than Middle Eastern. While his origins remain veiled in obscurity, he yearned for liberation from the harp. The Great Golden Harp was found by Wily Cat, who inadvertently unearthed it from an underground chasm. The harp's melody set free Char-Nin, who pledged to grant Wily Cat's desires. Eagerly accepting his offer, the Thunder Kittens decided to present the harp to Lion-O and transport it to Cat's lair. However, the discovery caught the attention of Mum-Ra, who adopted the guise of a Bolin to infiltrate Cat's lair. Seizing upon Char-Nin's longing for freedom, Mum-Ra bargained with the genie, proposing liberation in exchange for eliminating the Thundercats. Char-Nin agreed to the sinister pact. The genie commenced by ensnaring Lion-O, Wily Kit, and Wily Cat at the heart of Third Earth. Upon the arrival of the other Thundercats, Char-Nin captured them as well. However, Mum-Ra backtracked on his vow to liberate Char-Nin even after the latter fulfilled his end of the bargain. Enraged, Char-Nin attacked Mum-Ra. A duel between the two forces left the surrounding environment devastated, but it's unknown if Char-Nin survived the ordeal. Child of Gorgon. The Child of Gorgon endured a transformation into stone aeons ago. This metamorphosis sculpted his form into the landscape known as the Hills of Elfshima on Third Earth. Interestingly, the name Elfshima is actually a jumble of I am flesh, so you can understand the menace that the Child of Gorgon is. This titanic entity emerges as an instrument of annihilation, subject to the whims of whoever rouses it from its petrified state. In his ceaseless pursuit to dismantle the Thundercats, Mum-Ra read the incantations from the Book of Norvagnaj and wielded the Mask of Gorgon in tandem with the Sword of Omens, and by doing so, he succeeded in reawakening the Child of Gorgon. Augmenting the mask's abilities with sight beyond sight, Mum-Ra resuscitated the slumbering stone colossus, yet the intervention of Linkso and Bengali, equipped with the Thunder Strike, thwarted Mum-Ra's attempt. Striking the giant's inner ear, they instigated a loss of equilibrium, toppling it and generating a seismic shockwave. The cataclysmic aftermath obliterated the Mask of Gorgon and restored the colossal entity to its former stony manifestation as the Hills of Elfshima. Vampire Mermaid. Vampire mermaids live in the River of Despair. Much like the run-of-the-mill mermaids, their upper bodies mirror human women, while their lower halves transform into fish-like tails. They have enchanting voices, much like the mythological sirens. Once they've successfully drawn someone close enough, these beings ensnare them through hypnotic melodies. Once entranced, the veil of charm dissolves to unveil their vampiric essence, accompanied by sharp fangs and talons. And the next thing the victim knows is a gruesome feast on his blood. The Thundercats' initial encounter with the vampire mermaid occurred during their voyage to Tuscania. Tigra succumbed to the mesmerizing strains of her song, teetering toward becoming her prey. Timely intervention by his fellow Thundercats thwarted the deadly fate. Crabmen. Living in Third Earth's coastlines and aquatic regions, crabmen are humanoid crab species. They have bone-crushing claws on both hands, which make them a deadly foe. Known for their territorial aggression, they don't shy away from assaulting any and all intruders without deliberation. While the Thundercats frequently encounter crabmen, their limited intellect often proves their downfall, allowing the Thundercats to overcome them with ease. The initial encounter between a crabman and a Thundercat happened when Panthro was searching for the lost time capsule. Panthro witnessed the strength of a crabman firsthand as it effortlessly snapped one of Panthro's nunchucks. Rather than engaging in battle, Panthro chose to retreat. Enflamer. Enflamer, sometimes spelled as Inflamer, is an extraordinary being unique to Third Earth. Born from the essence of fire and intense heat, Enflamer is most striking when fully energized. A colossal figure emitting a golden-yellow glow with a cloak of blazing red flames, he lives in a subterranean volcano on Third Earth. In one of the story arcs, Mum-Ra deceived Lion-O and Tigra into combat, which triggered the dreaded Curse of Balthaz. This in turn resulted in shattering the Sword of Omens into 2 fragments, rendering it powerless. However, the Enflamer possessed the ability to restore the sword's strength through the use of starfire from his volcanic abode. Anticipating this, Mumm-Ra dispatched the mutants to weaken the Enflamer by assaulting him and siphoning his energy. The Thundercats then revived the Enflamer's vitality by immersing him in a pool of molten gold. Ungrateful for their assistance, the Enflamer responded with hostility, launching fiery projectiles at the Thundercats. Although he repaired the sword, he withheld it from Lion-O, but, of course, the good guys ended up winning. Fearids. Fearids constitute an indigenous tribe inhabiting the forests of Third Earth. To be more specific, they live in close proximity to the River of Despair. In fact, their territory is situated pretty close to the treetop kingdom of the Warrior Maidens. Although it's infested by perilous creatures and flora such as the Mandroga flower, they have an unyielding attachment to their land. Fearids exhibit an aggressive demeanor toward intruders who encroach upon their domain. They possess lethal weaponry and often deploy pose and blow darts with remarkable precision to eliminate their targets. A confrontation between Lion-O and the Fearids took place during his second anointment trial, wherein he unwittingly ventured into their territory. Subjected to a barrage of poison darts, Lion-O used his pod canoe to shield himself. Warbot. The Warbot is a quadrupedal robot crafted by the mutants. Conceived on Plundar and transported to Third Earth, it bears a reptilian outlook and is filled with an array of armaments and defensive mechanisms. One of its strongest capabilities is the capacity to absorb and redirect energy, neutralizing the weapons of its adversaries effectively. The Warbot also has a freeze cannon within its chest, which instantly transmutes living entities into stone. Its claw-like appendages transform into drills, enabling it to puncture through obstructions. Furthermore, the robot's projectiles, fixed with stone-attracting technology, bind securely to rocky surfaces. Immune to flames, its armor can elevate to scorching temperatures without getting destroyed. Gargoyles. Gargoyles in the Thundercats series are animated stone statues, much like their mythological versions, brought to life by Baron Karnor. These statues were granted life by the Baron to serve his nefarious purposes, which mainly involved stealing from the peaceful inhabitants of Third Earth. The Gargoyles, once animated, would carry out these thefts on behalf of Baron Karnor and transport the stolen goods to the Black Tower, where the Baron stored his ill-gotten treasures. The Gargoyles primarily targeted the more gentle and innocent races of Third Earth, such as the Wallows and Balkans. In one instance, 2 Gargoyles were in the midst of robbing a Wallow traveler when their actions were thwarted by the young heroes Wily Kit and Wily Cat. Despite their intervention, the Gargoyles managed to make off with a valuable golden bracelet intended as a wedding gift for the Wallow's daughter. The Thundercats faced the Gargoyles when they confronted Baron Karnor at his Black Tower. Initially, the Thundercats struggled to combat these stone adversaries due to their resilient nature. However, they eventually discovered a weakness. The Gargoyles would crumble into gravel upon impact, leading to their defeat. Giantaurs. Giantaurs are immensely large beings possessing formidable strength yet appearing somewhat lacking in intelligence. They inhabit the summits where trollberry bushes flourish. These bushes bear leaves, which serve as the exclusive food source for races such as the Trollocs. Because of their overwhelming might, the Giantaurs subject other creatures to their dominance, coercing the Trollocs into following their commands, like pillaging the Burble village to obtain the delectable Burble fruit. Only when offered the Burble fruit do the Giantaurs supply the Trollocs with the trollberry leaves. During a specific incursion on the Burble village, Lion-O drove the Trollocs away, thwarting their attempts to seize any spoils. This incited the ire of the Giantaurs, who, in response, assailed the village directly. United with the other Thundercats, Lion-O triumphed over the Giantaurs, compelling them to flee in defeat. Subsequently, Tigra encountered another Giantaur after falling into a trap, but in the end, the striped Thundercat emerged victorious. Living Ooze. The Living Ooze is a massive sentient slime found near the River of Despair. Beside it lies the Migget Swarm monster. It's green and it hungers to spread decay. Accidentally freed by Lion-O, the criminal Plutar partnered with the Living Ooze to control Third Earth. Mandora and Lion-O teamed up to defeat them. The Ooze formed hand-like structures from its mass to capture creatures entering its territory, making escape nearly impossible. Mandora's enzyme catalyzer soap dissolved the Ooze on contact. Due to its size and nature, the Ooze can't move but can ensnare those who approach. Automaton. The Automaton, a life-sized robotic samurai, was brought to life by the Lunatacs. Yep, the same ones ruled by Luna. Crafted as part of Luna's scheme to vanquish the Thundercats, this mechanical beast boasts some serious combat skills, and it gets more powerful and formidable upon wielding the Thunder Cutter, which renders it nearly impervious. Operating solely on its programming, the Automaton lacks alignment with good or evil, thereby enabling it to harness the Thunder Cutter. Once the Lunatacs devised the Automaton, they fit a blade onto the Automaton and dispatched it to confront Lion-O. Despite Lion-O's possession of the Sword of Omens, restraining the robot proved to be a daunting task. Eventually, Hachiman intervened, seizing the Thunder Cutter's hilt, prompting the sword to discern the Automaton's malevolent intentions and shatter it into fragments. Mad Bubbler. The Mad Bubbler was an ancient phantom of Third Earth who lived in the abandoned Thundrillium mine on Hook Mountain. This spectral entity possesses the ability to materialize and dematerialize at its discretion. Interestingly, the bubbler wields the power to generate a multitude of bubbles, each laden with a mind-altering gas, hence the name Bubbler. These bubbles ensnare unsuspecting intruders who come into the mine and induce something called the mine madness upon inhalation. This awakens the victim's latent malevolence, plunging them into a state of aggression and enmity, driving them to turn on one another with ferocity. Numerous denizens of Third Earth, including Snowman of Hook Mountain and Roe Bear Bill, are familiar with the mine's reputation, a place from which not many are known to return. When the Lunatics discovered the mine, they began a mission to extract Thundrillium from its depths. Despite Snowman's efforts to deter them, Luna, Amok, and Chilla went deep into the mine. Subsequently, Tigra, Chitara, and Panthro entered as well, succumbing to the Mad Bubbler's bubble-induced manipulation. Ultimately, it fell upon Snarf and Snarfer, being devoid of malevolence, to rescue the Thundercats from the mine's grasp. Zax. Zax, a four-armed anthropomorphic bird, derives his powers from the Rosencrantz medallion that he wears around his neck. In the past, he ruled the southern hemisphere of Third Earth while Mum-Ra controlled the northern hemisphere. Their ceaseless conflict for planetary dominion culminated in Mum-Ra seizing the medallion during a battle between him and Zax. After the battle was over, Zax's essence became trapped inside the very medallion that once gave him power, which left him formless within the medallion. When worn, the medallion imparts Zax's powers, but gradually transforms the wearer into Zax. Mum-Ra concealed it in a hidden chamber behind his sarcophagus in the Black Pyramid. Centuries later, Vultureman discovered Zax and the medallion. Seeking its power, he stole it from Mum-Ra and wore it, leading to Zax's essence influencing him. Vultureman discarded the medallion in panic, allowing Zax to manifest and engage Mum-Ra. Both plummeted into Mum-Ra's cauldron, but Zax's fate still remains unknown. Mole Master. Mole Master is a dominant humanoid mole residing deep within the subterranean confines of the mines of the Mole Men. Of course, he's a tyrannical ruler who holds no qualms for torture and slavery-like conditions. In fact, he subjects the submissive Mole Men, his people, to rigorous excavation and relentless gold pursuit. And if a certain Mole Man becomes too audacious to rebel or refuse to work, the Mole Master resorts to brutal punitive measures, which ensures that no other Mole Man chooses to defy his king. Tigra halted Mole Master's oppressive reign during his quest for the time capsule. Tigra used the Bolo Whip to scare away the tyrant, and it successfully drove the Mole Master into a permanent retreat. Later, aligning with Jackal Man's faction, Mole Master, alongside the Driller, endeavored to intimidate the Wallows but encountered opposition by the mighty Thundercats. Mole Master towers over fellow moles and might appear as an intimidating figure, but hand-to-hand combat isn't his forte, and he chooses to flee duels instead of holding his ground. Mongor. Mongor, a goat-like entity, instilled terror across Third Earth before being imprisoned within his tomb. This fiend thrived on fear, growing in strength and stature wherever it surfaced. Brandishing a massive scythe, Mongor possessed potent magical abilities like emitting lasers from the eyes and expelling flames from his mouth, and he also had fire immunity. Escaping his tomb thanks to Wily Kit and Wily Cat's inadvertent actions, Mongor renewed chaos on Third Earth. Despite Mum-Ra's previous inability to locate his prison, Mongor's liberation proved rather disastrous for everyone involved. He captured the Thundercat, save for Lion-O and the Thunder Kittens, who later united to vanquish him. Mongor was an exceptionally powerful and vicious villain, armed with vast magical powers that could easily counter that of the Thundercats. His menacing persona and the capacity to feed on fear only amplified his might upon encountering others because, everyone has some kind of fear or another. Shadow Master, a supremely evil wizard. The Shadow Master wields the Cloak of Darkness and uses it to conjure his nearly unbeatable magical powers. Of course, he wanted to rule the world with an iron fist, but the poor man underestimated the combined strength of the Sword of Omens, Claudus, and Jagger. They managed to defeat him with little effort and sent him to the Shadow Realm forever and ever. But he managed to open a portal from the Shadow Realm and abduct Claudus, keeping him in a crystal block prison. Later, during an eclipse, he conjured a Shadow Bat and used it to contact the ancient spirits of evil. He asked them for his release in return for defeating Lion-O, and the spirits agreed. However, Mum-Ra began to feel that Shadow Master was taking his place, and he was insecure. Mum-Ra used his pet to ensure that the new favorite of the ancient spirits failed. The battle between Lion-O and Shadow Master took place in the Shadow Realm, but the former managed to win, and he even freed Claudus. Spidera. Of course, what else can she be if not a giant spider queen from a place called the Kingdom of Webs? Her domain exists in the very heart of the planet, where she rules over other spiders through telepathy, and that's how she ensures that they do her bidding. Being a spider, she can shoot sticky and strong webs, which are hard to get away from. However, she can also speak simple words. For instance, she refers to Snarf as Thunder Food. In the beginning, when the Spider Queen hatched from a cocoon, the ancient spirits of evil asked their most humble servant to use her to defeat the Thundercats. Naturally, Mumm-Ra tried to follow the bidding of his masters and mesmerized Lion-O, luring him into the web of Spidera. However, while she managed to escape, Snarf got captured, but the Thundercats joined hands once again to go to the Kingdom of Webs to defeat her and rescue Snarf. Tashi. Once a beautiful princess with the power called Doomgaze, Tashi can bewitch men and force them to become her slaves. However, she was imprisoned in the Time Warp prison, where she roamed without a name on her ship and had only her personal guards for company. When a spirit named Nemesis told Mumm-Ra that she could be used to defeat her, he began to plot her release from the Time Warp prison. But that wasn't an easy job. He needed several objects for the purpose, and he employed the mutants to get the job done. The items he needed were Cheetara's hair, the tear of a burble, the shoe of a unicorn, and a hero who could take her rightful place in the Time Warp prison, and this was supposed to be Lion-O. Tashi was ultimately released, and she successfully bound the male members of the Thundercats, but they were saved by Cheetara, who, being a female, was impervious to the influence of Tashi's Doomgaze. Tashi's guards. As I mentioned earlier, Tashi's guards were her sole companions in the Time Warp prison. These guards were basically humanoid alligators who always stood by her and were ever ready to serve their princess. But when she was freed from her prison by Mumm-Ra, her guards and her ship continued to remain in the prison. Technopede. As the name suggests, the Technopede is an insanely huge war machine in the form of a centipede. However, it's also sentient but maintains an insect-like appearance, complete with a tail and 8 legs. Furthermore, its shell armor is extremely durable and can absorb almost any attack. For offensive purposes, it has an array of laser cannons placed on its head, and it can fire cluster bombs that'll detonate to create a large explosion to contact with the target. The sentient monster first attacked the territory of the Tuscanias, called Tusker. Not only did it defeat the greatest Tusker fighters, but it also created the possibility of genocide by targeting the water supply of Tusker. In the end, the leader of the Tuscanias, called Turmagar, sought help from the mighty Thundercats, but even they didn't have any experience of fighting such a huge enemy. But eventually their perseverance and teamwork paid off, and they were able to take down the sentient war machine. Tree Monster. The tree monsters are these extremely huge sentient trees that grow in forests that are close to the unicorn forests on Third Earth. Unlike other trees, the tree monsters have a face in their trunk, and just by looking at this face, you can tell that it's anything but good. With evil intentions running through their root and stem, tree monsters devour any unsuspecting passerby who comes too close. These monsters would extend their stems and branches to grab these victims, and that's it for the victim. Once, a tree monster had ensnared a poor unicorn and was in the process of devouring it when Lion-O saw the poor creature in trouble. He used his Sword of Omens to slash the branches of the tree monster and saved the unicorn. Trollocs. Trollocs can be considered as the Third Earth version of primitive humans who dwelled in caves. But unlike the primitive humans, they had a bulldog-like appearance. The Trollocs mostly settled on the northern side of the Burble village and frequently raided the fields for the Burble fruit, which the giants loved. Now, the Giantaurs owned the region where trollberry leaves grew, and these leaves were the only food that the Trollocs ate. So, the giants would have the Trollocs retrieve the Burble in return for the trollberry leaves. Naturally, they had to comply if they wanted to survive. Evil Knight. During the medieval period, there was a fair maiden named Guinevere. However, an evil knight captured her and imprisoned her in his castle. Several brave and righteous knights attempted to rescue Guinevere from her ruthless prisoner, but he would slay them with ease, and as a warning to the future rescuers, he would hang the armor of the slain knights. With no one left to challenge him, King Arthur became the one to invite the evil knight to a battle. The fight was long and tough, but King Arthur emerged victorious after he killed the evil knight with Excalibur, the sword of King Arthur. Once defeated, the evil knight and his castle disappeared into nothingness, which was a testament to the fact that he wasn't a human after all, but a magical creature of some sort. Wolf Rat. A cross between a wolf and a rat. The Wolf Rat was a robot designed especially for infiltration. Unlike other Third Earth creatures and robots, the Wolf Rat was small in size and was invented by Vulture Man, who considered it to be the most advanced piece of mutant technology. However, it's still armed with a number of weapons, in addition to the many abilities and devices that help it in infiltrating places and gathering information. It can fire lasers from its ears, transform into various articles like a box or a rock to avoid detection, and into flying vehicles. So, after Vulture Man took the Wolf Rat to Mumm-Ra, the evil priest wasn't really impressed, but the Wolf Rat's many capabilities changed his mind. Mumm-Ra gave the robot something called the miniaturization gas, a gas that would reduce the inhaler to a fraction of its original size. Wolf Rat infiltrated the lair of the Thundercats, and each of the heroes was left shrunk. However, Snarf was saved from the gas and managed to save the day. Captain Shiner. If there ever was an award for the most sincere mercenary, Captain Shiner would clinch it with ease. A mercenary to the bone. Captain Shiner will do whatever it takes if he's paid well. This alien mercenary is an intelligent and sophisticated alien who wears a monocle and has a bulldog-like face. He's essentially someone who's on the side of money and is above the notions of good or evil. Although he charges a lot for his services, if you manage to hire him, you can rest assured that the job would be done. As the captain of a highly armed and advanced spaceship with multiple crew members, he commands immense respect from his followers. The ship, Virtus, can travel across the universe in hyperspeed, allowing him to travel from one corner of the galaxy to another in no time. Of course, a mercenary of his stature was hired by Mumm-Ra. Captain Shiner made a faux distress call, which Lion-O intercepted. He came to help, but was overpowered by Captain Shiner, who also gave the Sword of Omens to the evil priest, who then threw the sword into a black hole. However, Snarf and Lion-O took over the Virtus and retrieved the sword from the black hole. Unfortunately, they got stuck in the black hole along with Captain Shiner. Everyone realized that they should work together to escape, but the Virtus had taken a lot of beating. So, as captain of the ship, Shiner asked the Thundercats to save themselves as he went down with the ship. But Shiner was no fool and managed to escape in a small pod just before the final doom. Captain Cracker. Unlike the spacefaring mercenary Captain Shiner, Captain Cracker is a spacefaring robotic pirate who visits multiple galaxies in search of victims who he can plunder and loot. His spaceship, called Jolly Rogers, looks like a pirate sailing ship, complete with a flag with crossbones and a skull. Of course, there are more pirate tropes as he has a parrot for a companion, an eye patch, and a peg leg. Being the skilled pirate that he is, the intergalactic cops of the Thundercats universe are always after him. In fact, he was once apprehended and put on the Grey Prison planet, but he managed to take control of it and freed the other prisoners as well. It was now that another robot, See-Through, became his follower and henchman. Since he had a bone to pick with the Thundercats, he made friends with the Lunatics, the enemies of his enemies. However, Lion-O once again put an end to his cronies. Demolisher. You can think of the Demolisher as the Thundercat version of the Predators. Yeah, the same ones. He looks like a humanoid Doberman and is a skilled intergalactic fighter who travels through space looking for worthy opponents to defeat and bathe in the glory of victory. He's always accompanied by an armadillo named Dirge, who serves Demolisher as his pilot, cheerleader, and sometimes sidekick. You see, Predators also do something similar and travel across the galaxy looking for worthy prey to hunt. Anyway, the Demolisher is also rather purposeless and lives only to duel and fight. In fact, he tried to gain victory through any means possible, and he holds no qualms about the consequences or the way he achieves his win. When he comes to Third Earth, he defeats Mumm-Ra with ease, but Mumm-Ra tells Demolisher about a worthier opponent, Lion-O. However, as would have been expected, Lion-O emerged victorious in the titanic battle with the alien warrior. Safari Joe. Safari Joe is another spacefaring alien, but as the name would suggest, he's a bounty hunter, a gamesman whose maliciousness seems to have no bounds. Honor remains a foreign concept to Safari Joe, a malleable notion discarded without hesitation when victory hangs in the balance. His word as a sportsman shifts like shifting sands. A puppet master's strings pull to suit his aims. Crowning his arsenal is the uber-powerful Gatling gun, which is basically an instrument of thunderous fury capable of unleashing an orchestral array of ammunition. And yet, more than just firepower, his mastery rests in preparation. With diligence like that of an artisan, he immerses himself in the essence of strengths, frailties, and every nuance between. This strategic immersion transforms him into an unequaled marksman, where shots rarely veer from their ordained path. With a mule for a sidekick and a state-of-the-art spaceship, Safari Joe is one of the most brutal hunters of the Thundercats universe. Plutar. While Midas's touch from Greek mythology turned everything into gold, Plutar's touch turned the living into the dead, irrespective of them being trees, flowers, or animals. Naturally, he's one of the most evil creatures in the galaxy and hails from a strange planet called Onyx. The denizen of darkness, Plutar wants nothing but the spread of death, darkness, and decay with his toxic touch. In fact, he has the ability to annihilate all life on an entire planet simply with his touch. So, of course, the Interplanetary Control Force and Mandora wanted to capture Plutar at all costs. They managed to somehow capture him, but Lion-O accidentally ensured the release of Plutar along with 2 other criminals. Immediately after his release, Plutar headed straight for the gassy swamps and ended up meeting the Living Ooze. The 2 of them joined hands to defeat their common enemy, Mandora, and her forces. They first trapped Snarf and Lion-O, but Mandora managed to escape from the clutches of Plutar and the Living Ooze. She used her enzyme catalyzer gun, which actually used soap, which was the perfect weapon against the toxicity of both the villains. Scrape. Hailing from the blue planet called Blue Plunder, Scrape is a blue-skinned alien who's essentially a ruthless salvage expert, and in his pursuit, he doesn't give a rat's bottom worth of care to the damage he causes, be it to other living beings or the environment. If he's searching for something, he has to get it. This technologically dependent blue alien came to Third Earth in a spacecraft shaped like an eel so that he could mine a unique rock that was found only in the bed of deep oceans. But of course, he couldn't go that deep, so his plan was to drain all of Third Earth's oceans. Yep, you heard that right. Anyway, this brought him under a direct confrontation with Dr. Dometone, who was the protector and guardian of something called the Great Oceanic Plug. Furthermore, this endeavor also involved the Thundercats, the sworn protectors of all the good denizens of Third Earth. Scrape almost managed to scrape what he wanted, but was stopped by the combined effort of Dr. Dometone and the Thundercats, who ultimately sent Scrape to Mandora's grey prison planet. Nemex. Now, this guy's an absolutely ruthless jailer of the infamous Astral Prison. Nemex looks like a troll, but what truly makes him grotesque are his 3 eyes and 4 arms. With his white hair, purple skin, and an extremely high-pitched voice, he may seem quite intimidating. Living in the astral world itself, he maintains his prison with an iron fist and drains the wisdom and knowledge of his prisoners, but his hunger for knowledge is rather insatiable, and he wants as many prisoners as he possibly can. Nemex managed to capture Jagger and planned to extract all the knowledge that Jagger had, irrespective of the time it'd take. But Lion-O reached before the process could start and freed Jagger from Nemex's clutches. But Lion-O also freed Brodo, an old wizard, who then transported Lion-O back to Third Earth. Rhinoceron. This big guy had the head of a rhino but the torso of a gorilla. Of course, a criminal, he found himself incarcerated at the Great Prison Planet. Oftentimes, beings with Rhinoceron's physical stature come with all brawns and no brains, and Rhinoceron was not quite different. Furthermore, he couldn't really speak, and had to contend with growls and grunts in the name of communication. But curiously enough, he could understand what others spoke. He'd use his body strength to simply plow through anything and everything, leaving a trail of carnage behind. When Captain Cracker took over the prison planet and released the inmates, Rhinoceron was among the ones who were released. When Lion-O arrived at the prison, the first inmate he faced was Rhinoceron, who nearly took down Lion-O, but he was saved by Quickpick, who used the bullfighting technique used by matadors to lock the Rhino-Gorilla monster back in his cell. Burnout. Another criminal robot. Burnout was another sentient felon wanted desperately by the Interplanetary Control Force for innumerable offenses. Things worked in favor of the Intergalactic Armed Forces, and Burnout was finally apprehended by Mandora and was sent to a holding cell on Third Earth itself, where he'd wait until the time he could be securely taken to the Great Prison Planet. Taking advantage of Lion-O, Burnout managed to escape from the holding cell but was captured again. The Metal Beast is nothing less than a raging bull that had attacked just about anyone and anything in its path. He has no regard for anyone except himself and can run over those who can't defend themselves. If you let Burnout gain his desired speed, you'll find it nearly impossible to stop him, and in such instances, all he can do is use his own momentum against himself. If he crashes into something at such a high velocity, he'll definitely cause himself more damage than he causes to others. Mule. As I'd mentioned previously, Mule is the robotic sidekick of Safari Joe, the hunter. He appears to look like a strange version of a locomotive, but is definitely more hard-working than any sidekick you may know of. Among his many job roles, one that's most crucial is finding worthy prey for his master, Safari Joe. Then he gathers as much information about them as is possible, which helps Safari Joe in making his grand plans and preparing for the hunt. He then displays these on a holojector, which is basically a projector of holograms, which is then studied by Safari Joe. Additionally, he sets up something called the electronic blind for the spaceship, which renders it impossible to detect. In the end, Safari Joe gets defeated by the Thundercats and vows to never go on a hunt again, and Panthro twitches with Mule's programming to make sure that Mule's master stays true to his promise. Dirge. As I previously mentioned, Dirge is the loyal servant and sidekick of Demolisher, the intergalactic predator-styled fighter. Dirge, the anthropomorphic armadillo, also serves his master in the capacities of a pilot and a cheerleader. And despite all the mistreatment that Dirge may receive from his master, he's not one to leave his master's side. Much like Mule, Dirge flies a spaceship and also looks through the cosmos for fighters and opponents that his master can defeat. In the end, Dirge also fights Snarf. Baron Tass. Baron Tass, a cunning resident of Thundera, is notorious for his unethical practices. His expertise lies in orchestrating dubious agreements that trap unsuspecting Thunderians in perpetual debt servitude. One of his unfortunate victims is Tor. Constantly at his side is his scribe and enforcer of levies, Mr. Grubber. Beyond his cutthroat business dealings, the Baron wields mystical abilities thanks to an enchanted amulet he possesses. This amulet not only emits energy beams, but also grants him control over his Baron Tass guardsmen, immense stone statues that serve as his personal enforcers. Located on the Baron's estate in ancient Thundera, a cryptic cavern houses both the guardsmen and the enigmatic Well of Doubt. Upon the Baron and Mr. Grubber's return to their abode on New Thundera, they were pleasantly surprised to find the cave unaltered, occupying the same spot as before. Extracting water from the well, the Baron administered it to Lion-O. Consequently, the young leader's self-assurance waned, replaced by a flood of self-doubt. Mr. Grubber. Mr. Grubber, an aged and malevolent Thunderian resident, has the roles of both a meticulous accountant and an oppressive tax collector. His allegiance is pledged to the treacherous Baron Tass, whom he faithfully accompanies. Together, they concoct underhanded ploys, ensnaring unsuspecting Thunderians in exploitative agreements that condemn them to perpetual debt traps. Mr. Grubbert is perpetually found in close proximity to his master, the Baron. His constant companion is an accounting ledger that also holds a sinister chronicle. Within its pages lie detailed accounts of the unfortunate laborers ensnared by Baron Tass, as well as meticulous records chronicling the depths of their debts. Neptune. Neptune is the abbreviation for Navy Engineers Power Tower Under Nuclear Energy. This artificial intelligence supercomputer commands a facility nestled within a fabricated black hole. Constructed by Venusian Public Works, its primary objective revolves around the cleansing of space passages from discarded vessels, defunct satellites, and other menacing celestial hazards. The grand innovation of Neptune involves the generation of an immense force field, closely imitating the characteristics of a black hole. Within this boundary, a magnetic influence originating from the power station draws in outdated spacecraft and satellites, amalgamating them into a debris-laden amalgamation. During an encounter aboard the ship Virtus, where Captain Shiner had detained Lino, Panthro, and Snarf, the Virtus went directly into the heart of the black hole. Regrettably, the supercomputer's disposition was unwelcoming, entrapping the trio within an unyielding titanium enclosure. A stroke of fortune came through Lino, who harnessed the might of the Sword of Omens to rupture the confinement. Panthro then caused a reversal in the polarity of the power station, compelling an expulsion of all contents from the confines of the black hole. Mirror Wraith. Residing within the confines of mirrors, the Mirror Wraith is a demon with an eerie green complexion. Mum-Ra plotted a scheme to overcome the Thundercats. He masterminded a stratagem wherein he transformed the Mirror Wraith into the semblance of a child's plaything. Through his guise, he gave the doll to Leah, thereby paving the way for the sinister entity to infiltrate Cat's lair. Polly. Polly, an articulate robotic parrot, is the loyal sidekick to the infamous cyborg pirate Captain Cracker. As far as any of Captain Cracker's dear friends are concerned, Polly stands as perhaps Captain Cracker's sole confidant and associate, steadfastly perched upon his shoulder and joining him on every venture. Imitating the behavior of conventional parrots, Polly possesses the ability to speak, albeit in a parrot-like voice. Yet his dialogue predominantly consists of echoing the words of others, eschewing personal expressions. Parallel to his master, Polly's essence embodies an extremely malevolent disposition, deriving pleasure from witnessing Captain Cracker engage in assaults against various entities, including the Thundercats. Captain Shiner's crew. The crew of Captain Shiner constitutes a group of individuals functioning in Captain Shiner's team in various capacities, each of them more loyal than the other to their not-so-noble master. Interestingly, all of them share the distinctive bulldog-like countenance characteristic of Shiner's species, which indicates that they may have a common lineage. Additionally, each member boasts unique attributes such as skin hue, stature, and mass, which are a set of prevailing similarities to Shiner. Bound by their allegiance to Shiner, the crew diligently executes their roles under his leadership. Apart from piloting Shiner's spacecraft, the Virtus, they adeptly manage a spectrum of tasks at his command. This unwavering loyalty to their captain drives them to unquestioningly follow his directives. Proficient in the operation of machinery, they also excel in the roles of guarding any captive Shiner may apprehend. Parallel to Shiner's personal armament, the crew is armed with guns that possess the capability to discharge potent energy projectiles. Cracker's robotic crew. The ensemble, known as Captain Cracker's crew, comprises a contingent of robotic entities that dutifully follow each of Captain Cracker's commands. Their design is characterized by an arrangement of interconnected cubical blocks forming their heads, bodies, arms, and legs. While their cognitive capabilities are limited, rendering them devoid of communication skills and intelligence, their physical prowess stands as a remarkable attribute. The deficiency in mental faculties is offset by their formidable strength. These robotic crew members wield potency rather than wit, their physical stature geared towards strength rather than swiftness. Each unit bears laser cannons situated at the extremities of their arms. Their role entails accompanying Captain Cracker in his spacecraft, the Jolly Rogers, as they traverse the cosmos in pursuit of ships to pillage. Primarily dormant until summoned by their captain, these robots have displayed their might on several occasions. They assisted Cracker in subduing Mandora and orchestrating the takeover of the Great Prison Planet, facilitating the liberation of its incarcerated population. Immortus. Immortus aligns himself with Mum-Ra, emerging as an age-old adversary to the Thundercats. His overarching aspiration is to establish his dominion as the paramount force of malevolence across the universe. In the past, Mum-Ra liberated him from the land of no return, only for the ancient Thunderians to subsequently banish him there once more. The touch of Immortus is one of his distinctive abilities. It's basically a tentacles touch that leaves a mark on the victim's cheek. This imprint leads to telepathic communication, enabling him to implant suggestions within the victim's consciousness. Moreover, this mark possesses the power to transmute the victim into stone. Immortus's right arm holds the versatility to transform from a three-clawed extension into a tentacle, through which he administers the touch of Immortus. Furthermore, he's impervious to all forms of physical assault. Having pleaded with Mumm-Ra for his release, Immortus manipulated the Thundercats into traveling to a dimensional portal, ultimately leading them to the land of no return. There, Lion-O and his companions bore witness to the petrified remnants of valiant ancestors who once vanquished Immortus. Using the Sword of Omens, these ancestral figures concluded their unresolved conflict, incapacitating Immortus in the process. Following his defeat, the Thundercats found themselves returned to New Thundera. In the aftermath of his failure, Immortus implored Mumm-Ra for aid once more, but instead of assistance, Mumm-Ra banished Immortus to the Netherworld, sealing his fate. Brogman. An era ago, Brogman arrived on Thundera from his desiccating homeworld. Possessing dominion over water, he sought to exert control over Thundera using this elemental power. However, a youthful Jagger, armed with the Sword of Omens, thwarted his ambitions, confining him in an underground reservoir. Numerous centuries later, upon the Thundercats' relocation to New Thundera, Brogman's incarceration was inadvertently ended by Wily Kit and Wily Cat's drilling activities. Assuming a facade of friendship initially, he subsequently captured the Thunder Kittens, leading them into the perilous region called the Churning Canyon. Ever prepared, Brogman was equipped with a bag of contrivances containing flower pellets. Comparable to the Thunder Kittens' trick pellets, these flower pellets each possessed unique attributes. One morphed into plant handcuffs, immobilizing victims, while another functioned as explosive grenades. Brogman's repertoire extended to the art of chameleon-like camouflage, enabling him to alter the hue of his skin. Ultimately, Lion-O harnessed the potent capabilities of the water sprites of the Eastern Sea, and by using this power, he extracted all water that surrounded and inundated Cat's lair, process that also engulfed Frogman. In a climactic conclusion, Frogman became part of the waterborne vortex, sealed within its depths. Malkar. Malkar is an age-old malevolent alchemist. In a grand plot aimed at obliterating the Thundercats, Mumm-Ra used his dark arts to resurrect Malkar from the depths of the afterlife. The objective was to harness Malkar's arcane skills to convert all Thundrillium on New Thundera into Thundranium. However, upon Malkar's return, the passage of time rendered him feeble and aged. Consequently, Mumm-Ra orchestrated his relocation to the Canyons of Youth. The purpose behind this relocation was to rejuvenate Malkar, restoring his vitality and strength to their former glory. Barantass's Guardsmen. Barantass's Guardsmen are colossal stone entities, a duo of immense proportions. These formidable beings take up residence within a cavern that also shelters the Well of Doubt. These guardians of the Baron's lair remain in a dormant slumber, roused only by Barantass's invocation through his enchanted amulet. Fashioned from stone, the Guardsmen boast an impervious physique which basically renders them virtually immune to an array of assaults. They wield astonishing strength and have the ability to emit laser beams from their eyes. On one occasion, Barantass wanted to subject Lion-O to the mystical waters of the Well of Doubt so that the leader of the Thundercats would succumb to profound self-doubt. As Lion-O's efficacy waned, Barantass capitalized on this vulnerability, deploying his Guardsmen against the remaining Thundercats. Despite the courageous efforts of Jagara and Panthro, the near-indestructible Guardsmen proved rather unbeatable. In the climactic turn of events, Jagara seized the Eye of Thundera's power, rejuvenating Lion-O's self-assurance. Empowered anew, Lion-O conjured a simulated torrential downpour, acting as a catalyst to disintegrate the seemingly invulnerable Guardsmen. Chimera. Chimeras are a malevolent breed of extraterrestrial sentient robots. Spanning centuries, they've engaged in unceasing warfare against the benevolent Terrators, ultimately triumphing by obliterating their homeworld. The Chimeras harbor an all-encompassing ambition to exterminate the entire Terrator population. The Thundercats are unwittingly thrust into the heart of this cosmic clash as both species unexpectedly confront each other on Third Earth. Inadvertently drawn into the tumultuous rivalry of these alien entities, the Thundercats find themselves going through the complex dynamics between the Chimeras and the Terrators. Two-Time. Two-Time commands the immensely sophisticated spacecraft known as Dome Down. This robotic overseer boasts a unique physical feature, a pair of heads situated at opposite ends of his form, allowing for interchange through a seamless rotation. Furthermore, he has another ability in the form of a frontal energy projection that's capable of inverting its targets. This phenomenon renders unfortunate victims suspended in a disorienting, upside-down state of suspension. On one occasion, Two-Time's machinations trapped a group of Thunderian refugees near the perilous churning rocks of New Thundera. Subsequently, he ambushed an ecology inspector tasked with scrutinizing the new cat's lair. In both instances, Two-Time's technological prowess and calculated strategies come to the fore, marking him as a significant threat in the Thundercats universe. Marvelous Verdict. Formidable and potent adversaries are an essential part to the narrative fabric of any exceptional superhero saga. While a single antagonist can certainly shoulder the mantle of malevolence with one singular story, it's not sustainable in a show with multiple episodes. So we need the presence of a multifaceted gallery of villains, and maybe these are all controlled by a single overarching enemy. Thundercats, much like numerous other shows, follows this principle. where each villain boasts a unique spectrum of power and influence. This diversity in villainous characters not only enriches the storytelling experience, but also contributes to the multifaceted nature of the Thundercats universe. From evil mummified priests and animal-based villains to nefarious robotic villains and bounty hunters and creepy moneylenders, Thundercats has got it all. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks everyone.